Hello, my beautiful souls. I hope you're having a wonderful December. And as the year is coming to an end, I decided that it's time to record a podcast about the patterns. As you know, people use New Year's for New Year's resolutions, for creating new goals, being more clear on what you want in life, and this is all great. I do this as well. I actually do it usually twice a year, or I would say every 3 months I have like a mini one, but twice a year is the big one. I do one for New Year's and I do one for my birthday, which is in June, so it's kind of like half a year. But still, the important thing to notice here is that in our universe, everything is kind of repeating in the patterns. You know, we have seasons, we have the years, we have all the beautiful history things repeating, coming up again. And it's actually the same with our lives. So, in general, there are certain patterns that are coming and going in our lives. And maybe when we say that, we want to change our life or we want to improve the way our life is working or the way we are approaching life, I feel like it's a crucial element to understand the patterns that are usually coming up. Why is that so? Is because if we are not aware of the patterns that are kind of our let's say, personal or individual, I don't know what word should I use, but individual events or situations popping up in our lives to help us learn a certain lesson. I actually have to add this, we could say circles, personal circles that keeps on coming up to learn a certain lesson. I believe that each of us have a couple of soul lessons that we came to learn in this life. So let's say you as a soul that manifested into this body, that you have one of the biggest desires, what you came to learn is about forgiveness. If this is the case, you probably have a couple of patterns that are happening around forgiveness, which means that either you got disappointed from other people, or you do things that you are not expecting from yourself, and then you start blaming yourself for it, and it's time for you to forgive yourself. So anything that will help you practice forgiveness. So this is just like one example. But we can have like hundreds different soul lessons, and we can have 1,000 different patterns that are repeating in our life. So why is it important for you to notice them? Well, the first thing is that I believe that you gain the real power over your life when you have the awareness. You can say that you want a better life, but if you don't know what's happening in your life, if you don't know where you are standing right now, you don't really have the power to change it. So the first and crucial step is to ask yourself, where am I standing? What is my current situation? And what has been the events or the situations that had been repeating and that I feel like I'm stuck in a certain circle that I just can't get out. Because in reality, it's like the patterns that are repeating are not there to make you feel stuck. It's just like every single time the same situation appears, it comes to actually give you a new opportunity to react differently. So the purpose of the situation repeating is actually to, give you a better understanding, give you a better lesson, teach you something more. And I honestly don't believe that we should ever, or that we will ever, get rid of those patterns. I think they are just a part of our nature. Like nature has its own patterns. Like if you look at different species, they have a certain pattern of when the flowers are blooming, when their leaves are gone, and when they're turning brown. And we have all those cycles, and everyone is just repeating the cycles, and that's totally fine. But when it comes to a human, there is such a big diversity of us, because we have this, I would say, free will, that when something happens, we can give it a meaning as we want to. And this free will is not always a good thing, because it means that we can consciously give it a meaning. And if we look at a society, it seems like we consciously are choosing to give like a limiting meaning to the situations that are happening. So when something happens and it may not happen the way we want it, we quickly make a conclusion that we did something wrong, that we are not good enough, that we, screw it up. It's so often that we just blame it on ourselves and start feeling guilty, start feeling shamed. And I feel like this is a downside of the free will that we have. Because honestly, I don't think that bears or foxes or birds can create a bad meaning out of something that they mess up. I don't think they are. Maybe they are. Maybe I'm giving them. I'm just making conclusions by myself without having any evidence. But I don't think they have the same conscious capacity to beat themselves up. I feel like humans are masters of that. I feel like we are really good at, really beating ourselves up. And that's a downside of the free will. But there's also a brighter side of the free will, which is that once you start being aware of the patterns that are happening, let's say that the pattern is that you get a project on job, and that you're always doing everything as it's supposed to be done, you're always paying attention, everything is going great, until the very last moment when you have to do your best. And every single time there is like the highest pressure, there's something that goes wrong. Either you get sick, or you do a mistake, or something else happens so that you screw it up. This is a pattern that is, like self-sabotaging pattern, I would say. But it's not uncommon. I definitely had experienced that pattern. Luckily, it's gone from my life. I don't see it repeating it, not at this high level. Maybe sometimes it still pops up, but I don't give it the same meaning anymore. And I actually believe that when it comes to the patterns, it's about us to learning the lesson. And as long as we are giving the patterns the same limiting meaning, something that is not serving us, we are actually fueling the pattern that stays in our life longer, or it's more significant, or it's more, it's stronger, it triggers us more. Because, it's like being in school. If you don't know something, if there is a certain subject that you're really bad at and you never learn the lesson and you always make the same mistake again, guess what? Like, you have to get the test all over again, and the test keeps on repeating and repeating and repeating until you start making better results and you start giving it a different meaning. And same goes with patterns. So as long as you as soon as you learn what was the pattern about, oh, I see, I have to be gentle with myself, I have to forgive myself, I have to admit that sometimes I don't have it all figured out, and that's okay. I can love myself anyway. And when you come to these conclusions, and you genuinely come to this conclusion, so it means that you are like feeling it within you, that's when the next time something like this would happen, you wouldn't feel triggered, and it wouldn't create the same emotion with you. It would be, okay, it's happening again, funny. But nothing personal would change within you. So we're not saying that the patterns that are repeating and that are there, that they're gonna totally be gone from our life. And as I said in the beginning, I don't think that's the purpose. But the purpose is definitely that we are learning the lessons. And if we are not clear on what lessons do we have to learn, and especially if we are keep on giving the same limiting meaning to the pattern, then we will keep on having the tests. And this is something that I'm like seeing with basically almost everyone, I would say even everyone that I ever coached or that I ever worked with. Because even though we might heal some of our patterns and some of our traumas and some of our limiting beliefs, there are always some that still remain, because we are students for life, and as long as we are here, it means that we have something to learn. So every time we encounter this, it's like I see that we all have different areas that trigger us. Some of the people can get really triggered through career, through business, through money, and it's all about that, and they get like so many triggers and nothing is working and they feel stuck all the time, and there's so many bad manifestations happening in this area. And on the other hand, they can like have a totally loving family, they can have lots of love coming from everywhere, everyone around them being healthy, strong, and then you can have it reversed, or you can have like tons of combinations. And it never so happened to me that there'll be a person that will have like every single thing figured out. It's like they can have awareness of things. They can be at a certain level where they can handle the patterns much better than they did before. But that doesn't mean that the lessons are not there anymore. And I feel like when you are basically setting new goals for the new year and thinking about what do you want to improve and what do you want to change for the next year, I actually want to encourage you to first, before you start setting your goals and your intentions for the next year, to first evaluate this year and look through the months and evaluate what's been happening. If you spot any patterns, if you spot any negative thing or something that you gave a negative meaning to, just write it down. Then write down all your wins from this year. This is very important. This is like the crucial one. You have to write down all your wins of this year, because that will make you way more motivated for the next year, especially because you will realize that maybe you feel right now, the year was okay-ish, but it could be better. But once you start writing your wins, especially if you do it by scrolling through your pictures in your phone or through your Instagram or wherever you post your activities, you will see how many things happen, what had changed. And if you have done the goal setting last year, now it's a perfect time to look at it and evaluate what's been working, what did you manifest, what happened, what did come true this year. And once you are able to see what happened last year and what was good and not, you have much better position to create new goals, new desires for new years. And I challenge you to look at the lesson that you have learned in the past year and write them down. What did you learn? Which maybe virtues you needed to practice, like forgiveness, love, courage. And once you will see what's been repeating for you a lot of times, you can then realize what might be your soul lessons. And when you have those soul lessons, then you will maybe have a better understanding of why things are happening in your life and why certain patterns are there. Because for me, a big one that I'm learning all the time is the courage. And it's always manifesting in a way that I have that inner voice or my heart or my gut telling me to do something crazy. And it's been following me all the time, and I just keep on having it. And it's a pattern that when I'm getting too much into the comfort zone, there'll be a voice. And that voice would sound super scary. And it will tell me to do something that I'm so not ready to do. But if I will keep on not listening to it, I will suffer, because I will be in the place where I know there's something wrong. I know I should be doing something else. And then what will be needed is courage to actually follow through and do what this voice is telling me. And then everything seems like brighter and nicer, and I learn a new lesson. So I feel like it's important to have these evaluations for yourself, and you just see what's been coming up, and that's where all the fun is. And the more you understand your life, the more you understand yourself, the better view you have on why things are the way they are, and the more power you have in changing them. And that's what I want you to have. That's everything that I preach about is about finding that inner power, which comes only through awareness and through understanding of yourself, of your patterns, of your beliefs. And once you have this, you have that real power, which is not outside of you, but actually within you, where no one can take it from you. So thank you guys for listening to this. I hope it inspired you. I hope you learned something new. Let me know if you have any questions. I would love to answer them in the following up podcasts. And yeah, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share it on social media, on Instagram. I would be happy to give you a shout out if you screenshot this episode and post it there. And yeah, thank you so much for your time, and talk to you soon. Ciao, ciao.